This is your USMNT Abroad weekend update from January 10th to January 12th of 2025. Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo and welcome to Tactical Manager TV and welcome to the US Men's National Team Abroad series where every single Monday we update you on how the Yanks did abroad over the weekend. Now, this was a bit of a weird weekend because we had no big headlines. There were like zero big headlines, but it was a pretty good weekend overall. And we are here to brighten up your Monday. And you know what? I also hate Mondays like everyone else. If you don't hate Mondays, you're probably a psychopath. But regardless of you hating or loving Mondays, make sure to drop a like in this video if you haven't already. As always, help us hit 1,000 likes because it helps the channel a lot. With that said, let's roll the intro and start the episode. As always, we start with the top 5 leagues in Europe, the first one being the English Premier League. So let's go to England, and why don't we start with Chris Richards and Matt Turner from Crystal Palace. And on Sunday, Richards and Turner both started for Crystal Palace. Wait, no. Your hearing aids did not fail you. You heard that right. Matt Turner started for Crystal Palace, believe it or not. And they both played the full 90 minutes for Palace during their 1-0 win over Stockport County in the FA Cup. So obviously Matt Turner started mainly because this is a cup game. However, they did hold a clean sheet, which is really all you can ask for Chris Richards and Matt Turner as defenders, along with the fact that they were standout performers, both of them. Matt Turner made 4 saves and conceded no goals on a 1.02 expected goals on target. That's really good. That's actually great. And he was also the man of the match on FootMob. Now, will this earn him more minutes? Probably not, but at least he was able to show us that he's still sharp despite the lack of minutes. Next up would have been Anthony Robinson from Fulham, but they did not play this weekend in the FA Cup. They played on Thursday and they actually won, but Anthony Robinson was rested and he didn't play at all. So let's skip A-Rob and talk about Tyler Adams from Bournemouth. And on Saturday, Tyler Adams started and played 89 minutes in what was a very good performance, in my opinion, for Bournemouth during their 5-1 win over West Brom in the FA Cup. He was rock solid on defense, as always, and efficient on the ball. Oh, and the 18-year-old American center back Matai Akimboni actually made the bench for Bournemouth for this one. He stayed there the entire game, but I'm just happy that he at least made the bench. Okay, now before we go to Italy, as always, I'm going to ask you once again to hit the like button, and I have a quick update. This week, we will have the US Men's National Team Abroad midweek update. Expect an episode to be out on Thursday or Friday, recapping the Americans abroad during the midweek. Okay, so you don't want to miss out. Okay, next up are the Americans that play in the Italian Serie A. The first two that we're going to be talking about are Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa from Milan. And on Saturday, Christian Pulisic and Yunus Musa both started for Milan during their 1-1 draw with Cagliari at the San Siro. Yunus Musa played 62 minutes and his performance was very Musa-like, if it makes any sense. I mean, he can dribble well into space. Defensively, he's pretty good, in my opinion. But again, somewhat ineffective in the final third, and the passing just ain't there. Nevertheless, I thought he did fine. I didn't think Musa was bad by any means. It was just a very Yunus Musa-like performance. And if you've been watching Musa over the past 3 to 4 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Next up, actually not next up, now the question that we have is, how did Christian Pulisic do? And listen, in my humble opinion, and I'm trying not to be biased here, he was Milan's best player despite getting no goal contributions. He looked sharp, creative, and goal dangerous. He hit the crossbar early in the second half, and it was a beautiful shot with his right foot. And for Milan's goal, Pulisic actually received a lobbed ball in the box where he managed to get a great finish out of it. The goalkeeper saved it, and I believe it also hit the post, and then Morata was able to tap in off the rebound and score. That goal was literally 50% Christian Pulisic. In my opinion, Pulisic looked incredible. He shined, but Milan crumbled and failed to get the 3 points. It reminded me a lot of the Kobe Bryant Lakers from 2006, where no matter how well Kobe Bryant would play, the Lakers would find a way to let him down. And in case you're wondering, no, I'm not calling Pulisic the Kobe Bryant of soccer. Not doing that. I'm just comparing the teams, essentially, even though Milan and the Lakers are also not a great comparison these days. Or maybe they are. They're kind of like fallen giants. But next up, we have two Americans that play for Juventus, and they are Weston McKennie and Tim Weah. And on Saturday, McKennie started and played the full 90 minutes as a left back for Juve during their 1-1 draw with Torino. So again, in my opinion, McKennie did play well as a left back for the most part. He's shown us that he can play well even when he's not playing in his natural position. As for Tim Weah, he came off the bench around minute 77 during this 1-1 draw. Last but not least, in Italy, we have Gianluca Busio from Venezia. And on Sunday, Busio started and played the full 90 minutes for Venezia during their 1-0 loss to Inter Milan. And Venezia got completely outplayed. They actually kind of suck, in my opinion. But honestly, Gianluca Busio didn't really look bad this game. He did fine. I thought he held his own. Next up, we have the Americans that play in Germany. So we're going to leave Italy and go to Germany to talk about the ones in the Bundesliga. The first two being Giovanni Reina and Cole Campbell from Borussia Dortmund. And on Friday, Gio Reyna started off the bench and was subbed in the 78th minute for Dortmund during their 3-2 loss to Leverkusen. As for Cole Campbell, he came off the bench around minute 89. And listen, I don't have anything to say about Gio Reyna's performance or Cole Campbell's performance in limited minutes. And I'm also not willing to talk about Gio Reyna's minutes anymore. It's kind of tiring and pointless. So I'm done talking about them for this episode because there's really nothing else to say. So now let's talk about Joe Scally from Borussia Mönchengladbach. And on Saturday, Joe Scally started and played 82 minutes for Gladbach during their 1-0 loss to Bayern. And just to oversimplify it, Joe Scally had a very good performance. And it feels like he always plays well against Bayern. If my memory does not fail me, he made his Bundesliga debut years ago against Bayern, where he stood out, played very well, and even stopped Alphonso Davies that time specifically. I guess Joe Scally just really likes playing against Bayern, and then against sometimes other opponents that are not that good, he looks pretty But against Bayern, when it's Bayern, he does well. So I guess if we face Germany in the World Cup or whatever, you just play Joe Scally as one of the fullbacks. Now the other player would have been Kevin Paredes from Wolfsburg, but this dude is still injured. I think he's been injured all season long. I can't remember the last time that Kevin Paredes played, so he's still not available. Then you have Leonard Maloney from Heidenheim. He is leaving Heidenheim, and the reports say that he's going to head to Mainz. So he's going to leave Heidenheim and go to Mainz. The question is, will he move in January, this winter, or during the summer? We'll let you guys know next week. We should have updates on that, or maybe during the midweek abroad recap that we're going to have on Thursday or Friday. So last but not least, in Germany, we have Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg. And on Sunday, Noah Kai Banks started off the bench and was subbed in the 29th minute for his injured teammate, making his Bundesliga debut at age 18 during their 1-0 loss to Stuttgart. So listen, he was at fault for the goal they conceded, but as weird as this sounds, that's not something that I really consider relevant for this game specifically. What I was looking more towards was whether or not he looked out of his depth, which he didn't. He looked fine. He looked comfortable defending and on the ball. So despite the goal that he was at fault alongside the other center back, I thought it was an extremely encouraging debut for an 18-year-old center back in the Bundesliga. And I am definitely looking forward to, keeping track of his progress for the weeks to come, because God knows how badly the U.S. men's national team needs more quality center backs. The goalkeeper and center back position nowadays, it's pretty much our Achilles heel, or LeBron James's hairline, or Shaquille O'Neal from the free throw line. You get the point. It's our weakness, right? Or you can even say Logan Paul's brain. It's really our weakness right now, center backs and goalkeepers. So we need Noah Kai Banks to develop, and it was a very encouraging debut. He has a lot to improve, he has a lot to work on, and a lot to develop, but I liked what I saw. And actually, I said last but not least, Noah Kai Banks will be the last guy in Germany. There's actually one more American in the Bundesliga that we need to report on, and his name is James Sands from St. Pauli. And on Saturday, James Sands started off the bench and was subbed in the 78th minute, also making his Bundesliga debut, this time for St. Pauli, during their 1-0 loss to Eintracht Frankfurt. And now we are done with Germany. So we can go to Spain and talk about the Americans in La Liga. The first one being Luca de la Torre from Celta Vigo. And on Friday, Luca de la Torre stayed on the bench the full 90 minutes for Celta during their 2-1 loss to Rayo. Luca, listen, you don't gotta leave Celta, but it's time to go. And then also in Spain, the last player that we actually are going to talk about in La Liga is Johnny Cardoso from Real Betis. And on Saturday, Johnny started and played the full 90 minutes for Real Betis during their 1-0 loss to Valladolid. So Johnny had a pretty bad giveaway early in the game, but outside of that, he had a decent game. So I'll put it this way, if the mistake he made, I believe it was right around the first minute of the game, if that was a goal they conceded, everyone would be saying he sucked. But if you remove that, you take that aside, Johnny actually had a pretty decent game. Now that's it for the Americans in Spain. Let's go to France so we can talk about the Americans in Ligue 1. Balogun is still injured. He won't be back till around March or April. Caleb Wiley, the left back from Strasbourg, he's still injured and he won't be back till around February. So we're going to skip those two and talk about the first American that actually played this weekend. And his name is Mark McKenzie, the center back from Toulouse. And on Sunday, McKenzie started and played the full 90 minutes for Toulouse during their 2-1 loss to Strasbourg. And then the next player in France, which is actually the last player we're going to be talking about in France, is Tanner Tessman from Lyon. And on Saturday, Tessman started and played 67 minutes for Lyon during their 2-1 loss to Brest. The good news here is that he got an opportunity as a starter, mainly because Matic was sick. And the bad news is that he dropped a stinker. No, seriously, like Tanner Tessman really struggled to fill in that Matic role on the ball. He couldn't really also protect the back line. He wasn't the problem with Lyon this game, but he was definitely part of the problem. I don't want to read into this bad performance too much. I mean, it's just one game and the whole team was kind of bad. And again, he isn't bad on a regular basis, but it is fair to say that he did not take advantage of this specific opportunity. And lucky for me, it helps me push that Tanner Tessman center back agenda. I'm going to continue to say this. I think Tanner Tessman is suited to play as a center back, not as a midfielder. If some coach could kindly test that out, I would truly appreciate it. Okay, boys and girls, let's go to the Netherlands and talk about the Americans in the Eredivisie. The first ones being the PSV boys. Serginho Dest, Ricardo Pepi, Malik Tillman, and Richie Ledesma. Now, Dest is not back yet, but apparently, allegedly, he is back in training. And if he's back in training, that means I would expect him to be back with PSV within the next 4 to 6 weeks. But let's talk about the ones that are actually playing. And on Saturday, Tillman and Ledesma both started for PSV during their 2-2 draw with AZ Alkmaar in the Eredivisie. And I actually missed this PSV game over the weekend, something I usually don't do, but unfortunately I was not able to watch it. I don't remember why. Now, Ledesma played the full 90 minutes as a right back, and I heard he played very well. I actually heard he was the best out of the Americans. Now, Malik Tillman was subbed out around minute 67, and apparently he was bad. He dropped a stinker. He didn't do well. While Ricardo Pepi was sent in the final 10 minutes and barely touched the ball. No, seriously, he had 2 touches throughout those 10 minutes. And unfortunately, Luuk de Jong also he scored a brace, and that most certainly does not help Ricardo Pepi in terms of getting more minutes in the future. But it is what it is. Luuk de Jong is old. Eventually, they're going to have to rotate, and Pepi will get minutes. And there are rumors that Ricardo Pepi will renew his contract with PSV till 2030. I still think he could leave during the summer or maybe in the summer of 2026, probably with a very big transfer fee, but it does look like he's going to renew his contract till 2030. Next up, we have Paxten Aaronson, also in the Eredivisie, but he plays for Utrecht. And on Sunday, Paxten started and played 88 minutes for Utrecht during their massive 2-1 win over Feyenoord. Paxten scored their second goal in this game in transition to make it 2-0 in the second half and help them get the 3 points. But on top of that, he continues to contribute quite a bit on defense as well. Paxten Aaronson originally struggled when he got to the Bundesliga, but he didn't go back to MLS. He persisted, and he's now among one of the best performing midfielders in the Eredivisie. He now has 5 goals and 2 assists with Utrecht this season, sitting in 3rd place. Plus, he has been great for them defensively throughout the season. That is the mentality that we need for the US men's national team players, to persist at the highest level possible until they have no other options abroad. Don't take the easy route and come back home right away. And I get it, the Eredivisie is not the highest level, but he's persisting there so that he can come back to a top 5 league. Okay, somewhat like what James Sands did, right? He went to Scotland, failed there, went back to the MLS or to Major League Soccer, and now he's back in Europe in the Bundesliga to test himself. Always challenge yourself. Don't stay in the comfort zone. That's the mentality that we want for our players. And to be fair, most of them have that. Now let's go to England and talk about the Americans in the 2nd division of England, the EFL Championship, but obviously this specific weekend, they actually played in the FA Cup. The first one being Josh Sargent from Norwich, and he's back. And on Saturday, Josh Sargent started off the bench and was subbed in the 79th minute for Norwich during their 4-0 loss to Brighton in the FA Cup. It's a tough loss, but Sargent is back after nearly, 2 months? Something like that? And that is what truly matters for us US men's national team fans. The other player would have been Paxten Aaronson from Leeds, but Aaronson was rested by Leeds in the FA Cup. They won, they advanced, but Aaronson got no minutes. He was rested, so there's nothing to say there, nothing to comment. Haji Wright was not available for Coventry. He's still recovering from that nasty ankle injury, but he is expected to be back in 7 to 10 days. So after Haji Wright, we have Ethan Horvath from Cardiff. Or is it Cardiff City, the team from Wales, the country? And you know what? Horvath actually played on Thursday in the FA Cup, and he was the man of the match during their 1-0 win over Sheffield United. That likely won't earn him more minutes, but, it's good to see Ethan Horvath playing well when given an opportunity. The other American in England would have been Aidan Morris from Middlesbrough, but he's still recovering from a knee injury. He is expected to be back this month, but he hasn't been back yet. Let's not leave the United Kingdom yet. Let's go up north to Scotland so we can talk about Cameron Carter-Vickers and Austin Trusty from Celtic. And on Saturday, Carter-Vickers and Trusty both started and played the full 90 minutes for Celtic during their 4-1 win over Ross County. Alright everyone, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to drop a like before you go. It helps the channel quite a bit. And if you made it this far, also drop that random comment in the comment section down below to give us that fake algorithm boost. Not even fake, a real one. Now don't forget, we do have the USMNT Abroad midweek recap, probably on Thursday, but it could happen that it could be released on Friday depending on our schedule. And I guess that's all. So thank you very much for watching and have a great day.